Alright, filmmakers, here we go. We're going to make some laser fingers. So let's follow along. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to import your footage by going to File, Import, and File. If you're in Premiere, you have another option of a way to do this. So for instance, if I wanted to put an effect and use After Effects to put an effect on this clip right here, I could very easily go right click and then go to replace with After Effects composition, and that would open up an After Effects thing, and then you could have your effect on that exact amount of footage, which is actually the way that I recommend doing it. It's a better workflow. You're only editing the amount of clip that you need. It's a better way to go. But if you're putting your effects on the clips first and then exporting it, it's going to work out too. Alright, so I'm going to go back to After Effects now. So here's my footage. I'm going to make a new composition from this footage. So right click, New Comp from Selection. So this is my footage. I'm going to start by going to the place in the footage where I have the laser blast. So right there. Now I'm going to make a few layers. I'm going to go to Layer, New, Solid, and this is going to be my particle layer. So I type in particle up here, I click OK. I'm going to find CC Particle World by typing in particle under the Effects tab off to the right. So CC Particle World, that goes on here. I'm going to open up the guides and grids. I'm going to turn all of this off. Right where it starts here, I'm going to open up the birth rate. We're going to turn that down to 0. Click the stopwatch. I'm going to shorten the clip so it goes right to that time. And then we're going to go 2 frames down. You can do this a couple of different ways. You can zoom in here really close and go 1, 2 frames down like that. Or you can push page down on the keyboard, 1, 2, like that. So either way, at the beginning here, you have a keyframe with the birth rate at 0, 2 frames down. I'm going to make another keyframe, crank it up to 2, go 2 frames down again, and turn it down to 0 on the birth rate. Just like that. Now I need to adjust some other options. Now we're going to go to Producer, and we're going to change the position so it's right on the finger. So I'm going to change the X position and the Y position here. Now I'm going to go to Physics, and I'm going to change the animation style from explosive. You could do direction axis, cone axis, or vortex. I'm going to do vortex this time. I'm going to turn gravity to 0. I'm going to go to direction axis and open that. And this allows me to tip the vortex in the direction of the fingers. And if I want to swing it towards the camera, I can change this as well. This is pretty much just going to the left, so that's all I need there. And if I wanted the vortex to go the other way, I can change the velocity to go negative, or even 0, or a very low number. So if it's a negative velocity, it's going to shoot back into Mike's face here. If it's a positive velocity, it's going to go forward. Both of them are cool looking. So after the particles, and I've changed the direction axis, I'm going to go to the particle here. You can choose any particle that you like, depending on what kind of look you're going for. Lines are just fine, but you could also do stars. If you want a more magical look, motion polygon. And you may need to adjust your birth rate. I'm going to stick with the lines for now. And I'm going to change the color. I want my laser to be more of a blue. And then as it gets older and dies off, I want it to turn to white. Maybe make it a lighter blue. Alright, and I set the transfer mode to screen. Now as soon as those particles leave the screen, I can shorten my layer to that length. So just like that. Slide it from the end, and that's my particle layer. Now I'm going to do some more layers to increase the effect. I'm going to do another layer, solid. This one's going to be flash. So this is the muzzle flash. Layer, new, solid. This is going to be flash. And I'm going to use lens flares. So I type in flare or lens. I'm looking for lens flare. There it is. Now down here, I'm going to change the mode. I might need to click on toggle switches and modes. So I get this thing. When it says mode normal, we want to change the mode to something like add or screen. I'm going to line that up right on the fingers there. And I'm going to cut off that layer so it starts right there. Okay, so I'm sliding that layer so the flare starts right when the particle does. Now in the controls, I want the flare brightness to start at 0. Then I'm going to go down forward a little bit. Increase it a lot, so even more than 100. That's maybe too much. Let's call it 160 is good. And then I go forward a little bit more, and it goes back down to 0. You can try different types of lens flares. But once it's gone away, then I can shorten the video of that layer. And so now we have this. But my flare went away because I didn't animate it. So what I need to do is click on the stopwatch here for flare brightness. And then I go down a little bit. Increase it to 150. Go down a little bit more. And then back to 0. Okay, almost there. Now we're going to put in the beam. So layer, new, solid. We'll call this beam. And over in the effects tab, I'm going to type in beam and drag that onto the layer. The starting point is going to be the fingers. The ending point is going to be wherever they're shooting. The length, I'm going to make that 100%. And then these options are for you to do on your own, whatever you feel is necessary. So I like to have a thicker beam, so I'm going to make it 50 at least, and then maybe 100 at the end. And I want it to be more of a blue color, so I'm going to do a white, and then more of a bluish color. I'm going to shorten the layer to there and to there. And I might increase the softness as well. And if I wanted to, I could change the mode here from normal to something like add or lighten. The normal one looks pretty good to me. Now I need to animate the time. So right when the flare starts, the time should be 0. And I click the stopwatch. And then I'm going to go 3 frames down. So I'm going to hit page down about 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to have the time go to 100. And you can see the laser extend out and go off the edge. That's exactly what I want. So all that together. It's going to look like this. Now what I did to check there is I double clicked this and it brought up what that adjustment was, and I can change it. And if it's too slow, I can bring these keyframes, these diamonds here, together. And to look at those keyframes, I push U on the keyboard. Alright, last step is adding the warping in the background. So this is a different kind of layer I'm going to add. I'm going to go Layer, New, and then Adjustment Layer. I'm going to size it down to the same amount as the other ones. And under the effects, I'm going to type in turbulence, T-U-R-B, and we're going to get turbulent displace. I'm going to drag it onto that layer. I need to draw a mask around just the area that it's going to affect. I like to use just the ellipse tool because it's easy. Maybe I can use the cursor here to kind of drag it out a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is open up the mask options, increase the feather a little bit. I could expand the mask too, depending on how much I want the effect, the warping effect, to go out. And then I'm going to animate the amount of complexity. And all of these options are okay for you to play with. So I want a significant amount of ripples, so I'm going to do about 30 some for there. The amount, I'm going to have it warp up to 100%, but it's going to start at 0. So at the beginning of my warping here, it's going to start at 0, click the keyframe. Then when it fires, it's going to go up to 100. And then it's going to go back down to 0 as it cools off. And so there we have it. You have flare, warping, particles, and beam. And then all I need to do for each laser blast is highlight all 4. I click on the first one, hold shift, click on the last one. And I can do Control D on the computer, or I can do Edit and Duplicate. And then I just bring that to wherever the next blast is. So right here, there's another blast. And I can just kind of bring everything over like that. Now sometimes you'll have to click on these layers and, adjust the points a little bit. So like the flare center, I might have to adjust. All those sort of things. But for the most part, once you've done one, you have all the effects set to go. Here's a problem that I'm having with the lens flare. So the lens flare, it's causing this white edge here. So I'm going to reposition that so it's centered in the frame, and then change the flare center to be where the fingers would be. And then it's good to go again. And that's it.